When it comes to sales, is it unethical to pressure your buyers in the sales process? I'm Scott Sylvan Bell. I'm coming to you live from Sacramento, California on a perfect day to talk about sales and a perfect day to talk about pressure in the sales process and closing. Now, you know, all the salespeople that I've got a chance to ride with and interact with, there is a common thread for people who are really struggling as a salesperson, or they've reached their upper limits and they're not willing to go any further. And so part of this conversation typically rolls like this. I don't like that sales guy over there or that sales girl over there because they're too salesy. They apply pressure. And then like the next conversation down is they're probably unethical, right? Okay. So this tells me a lot, and it should tell you a lot about a salesperson if they're having this conversation, or if you're having this conversation, maybe like just rethink and going through what's going on in your own sales process. Now, if you ever pay attention to Dan Kennedy, who you should, he's a really well-known copywriter, business strategist, sales trainer. He always talks about the amount of ability to get somebody to take action is astronomical to get them to do stuff, whether it's through conversation, whether it's copywriting, whether it's through a face-to-face sales process. It is super important for you to understand that. So never underestimate the amount of effort it's going to take to make somebody to make a purchase is roughly what it translates to, okay? And so here's what I see salespeople struggle with, and here's what the problem is they have. I don't want to push buyers, and I don't want to make any type of pressure in my sales process, ... internal thought, because that's not how I would buy. So, you know, you need to understand that people sell how they buy, people buy how they sell, whatever way that you want to say it. You need to understand that this is a super important process of your underpinnings as a salesperson. So, does it take pressure? Sometimes it's uncomfortable to close a deal? Absolutely, right? But think about like when you go to your doctor. Let's look at other places in your life where pressure is applied to you, but you don't go, time out! Pressure, not good, okay? So one of them is when you go to the doctor and the doctor says, hey, Scott, you're overweight. What are you gonna do about that? Oh no, sorry doc, pressure, timeout, not gonna work. You're driving down the road, you're doing a little bit faster than you should, you get pulled over by Mr. Police Officer or Mrs. Police Officer, and they're like, hey, license or registration. And you're like, timeout, too much pressure, right? Or when you were in college or high school or wherever you went and you had a counselor and they said, like, look at your grades, they're not very good. Like, pressure is required in a lot of things that we do, but most people who are in sales misunderstand the process and they don't have good coaching and they don't have good training, and so they apply pressure wrong. So if you're applying pressure wrong, I'm going to agree. I'm going to say, hey, that's the wrong thing to do for a buyer. But if you've had good sales training, good sales coaching, you've been taught how to close sales, then there's nothing wrong with applying pressure because you know what's going to happen. The brain oscillates. Now, if you don't know what that is, oscillation means like, I'm going to do it, here's the pendulum, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it, I'm not going to do it. It goes back and forth, right? And so you have to get people to take action or they're going to sit on stuff and they're not going to do anything. This is why there's deadlines, right? I mean, every industry in the world uses deadlines. Like the sale ends at midnight, you know, July 30th. The sale ends at 12 o'clock p.m. on, you know, December 4th. Whatever the date is, there's always a timeline. There's always a thing. Now, you know, this has been tested a lot. This has been tested a significant amount of time through big box retailers where they do the pendulum thing. We're going to do specials and we're going to have things where people buy from us, but nope, we don't like that anymore. We're just going to offer everyday low pricing. Well, what they find is when places offer everyday low pricing, the brain says, well, am I really getting a good deal? I didn't have to fight for it. It really didn't make me do anything for it, so probably not getting a good deal. I'm not going to go shop there. I'm going to go for the place that's got like prices slashed, okay? So there are elements to the sales presentation that do require some pressure. I'm not saying crazy pressure. I'm not like saying like, hey, buy now, not like that, right? But pressure can come from difficult questions. Pressure can come from stories that are told. Pressures can come from deadlines. There's all sorts of different levels of pressure, but when a salesperson comes to me, right? When a salesperson comes to me and says, hey, I struggle with pressure, right? That's the opportunity to have the conversation. Look at all the other places. So do you struggle with pressure? Do you struggle with pressure? So if so, put a conversation in the box down below. If not, leave a conversation too. Say, hey, look, I'm really good. I don't struggle with pressure. I do. Just put it in the box, right? Just type it up. You know, I'll respond to you. It'll be pretty cool. We'll go back and forth. We'll talk about it. But do you struggle with pressure as a salesperson? If so, put it in the box. We'll talk about it. We'll see you soon. Thanks for dropping. Well, I almost forgot. If you've never been by my channel and never seen my videos before, you got one thing to do. There is a subscribe button somewhere. Somewhere there's a subscribe button. Click on the subscribe button, and what will happen is every time I send out content, you will get an update that says, hey, Scott Sylvan Bell sent out a video, you should watch it. Which you should. We'll see you soon. Thanks for dropping by. Aloha.